Welcome back to Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN, and a little baseball. The Phils with a walk-off win last night. Boy, it has been tough to watch them offensively, but the pitching's a lot of fun. Craig Calcaterra, who you can listen to on NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 live sports talk network, and you can listen to that at NBCSportsRadio.com. Download the NBC Sports Radio mobile app today. Craig, welcome back. How are you, pal?
Doing fine, thanks.
Well, here in the Delaware Valley where we're watching Phillies baseball, I'll tell you, it has been excruciating to watch this offense. And I think we kind of knew that was going to be the case. We talked a little bit about it last week, but they're the only team in baseball that has not had double-digit hits in a game the entire season. They got a walk-off win last night. But overall, when you look at that team, is there anything that they can do in terms of younger players that they can bring up, or is this kind of what they got and what they kind of knew, or are there some underperforming guys that might help out along this road? Because let me tell you, this is tough baseball to watch unless you really like pitching.
It's very tough baseball to watch, but it's also exactly, I think, what you should have expected and probably what the Phillies front office expected. As far as the record goes, maybe better than expected. I mean, I think a lot of people thought that they would be, like Atlanta or somebody right now and have double-digit losses already. But, it's tough. There's just not a lot of talent there, and what talent is there is young. And, you're going to see guys like Franco have amazing weeks where they're just complete beasts, and then, have a week or two where pitching is just getting the best of them. He's 23 years old. That just happens. You're going to have a lot of time watching Peter Bourjos, the reason he's out there is to showcase, to trade him at the deadline because he plays good defense, or to at least be a security blanket for the young pitching. He's not fun to watch bat. I mean, everyone knows this at this point. There's really not a lot you can do. The key to this season, and it's already going pretty well as far as it goes, is watching the young pitching take their lumps as they're going to and mature, because it just takes time. I'm an old man, and I'm a Braves fan, and I remember seeing this in 1987, 1988, 89 with Tom Glavine and John Smoltz. They just got to get through their turns until they mature. And so far, the turns from guys like Velasquez and Eichhoff and stuff, they've been good. So grin and bear it and wait for Eagles season.
Yeah, by the way, wait for Eagles season. I don't know if anybody's excited after that trade yesterday. We'll see. Phillies are a minus 30 in run differential this year, yet 7-9. And that kind of lends to the pitching. I'm glad you brought that up, Craig, because I saw Hamels, pitching last night. They are very good so far in Texas when he has pitched. It's the 14th consecutive game that Cole Hamels started that the Rangers won. But when you look back at that trade, has it worked out for both teams? I mean, I know the Phillies, you're not seeing all the fruits of their labor, but, we're about 6 months since that trade. Has it worked out for both teams the way they wanted it to?
I think so. Every expert who looks at farm systems and looks at young talent believes that the Phillies got a very nice haul in that trade and a couple of the other moves that they made last year. And, of course, the Rangers are in a win-now mode. They needed an ace. They got one. There is nothing that Cole Hamels could be doing, even if he was throwing perfect games every time out in a Phillies uniform in 2016, that would make this team significantly better. Right? There's not enough talent to surround him. So, if you love someone, let them go. The Phillies let him go, and he's doing what he's supposed to be doing there. And, again, to use a very old man Braves analogy, in 1987 they traded Doyle Alexander to the Tigers. They got young John Smoltz. And then, the next year the Braves lost 106 games, but they got John Smoltz. I'm not saying any of the guys they got from Texas is going to be John Smoltz, but they got a better chance of that than if they had kept Hamels around.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Velasquez pitched well his first two games, not so well the other night. But I think really you look at what they have with Jake Thompson down in the minors. But realistically, I think Eichhoff has given them much more than they thought. So it looks like they could be getting some interesting arms from that. And they got a lot of arms stockpiled. So it does seem like that trade has worked out for both teams. But pitching in general, Craig, in baseball, I mean, Chris Sale again last night, dominating. Jordan Zimmerman has been unbelievable. Is this, again, the era of pitching? Is pitching dominating again for this season?
It absolutely is. I mean, maybe the runs scored is trending a little bit more up than it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but we are in a very pitching-heavy era. I mean, it's not just that the pitchers are ahead of the hitters. I think we've seen a shift in velocity and max effort relievers and specialization that in some ways I don't know how baseball gets out of unless they make some drastic changes to the strike zone. And what we're at right now is this extremes of home runs and strikeouts. We have more home runs and more strikeouts right now than anything. And unfortunately, that's a lot of non-action. We don't have a lot of balls in play. We don't have doubles in the gap, and that makes it a challenge to watch baseball sometimes. But 150 years of pitchers adjusting to hitters, hitters adjusting to pitchers. I think we'll probably get back to some equilibrium eventually.
Yeah, that's a good point you bring up. How do you get out of this situation where obviously the offense boomed for a reason in the 90s that we will not discuss right now? They're not going to allow that to happen again. That's a great point you bring up. Is this just going to be baseball nowadays, and how can they make it more entertaining? Because you just brought something that kind of raised my eyebrows. Is there's not a lot of action going on out there.
Yeah, it's a fundamentally different game than we even saw, 10, 20 years ago. And if you go watch a YouTube game of some, 1980s game or something like that, it's amazing just how much more action you see. I think the key to it is the strike zone. The bottom half of the strike zone has gotten very low. A lot of this is because of pitch effects and Quest Tech and all that kind of technology that judges umpires. They're really squeezing the left and the right side of the strike zone in ways that it wasn't squeezed before. The top and the bottom is getting neglected a little bit, and very low pitches are being called as strikes now. And I think that really has given the advantage to the pitchers, in addition to the fact that they're all throwing 95, 96 now, and the relievers are all throwing in the upper 90s. That makes it very hard.
Yeah, there's a lot of great power arms in baseball, which if you're a baseball pitching fan, there are so many guys you can go out there and check out. By the way, Greinke and Baumgartner, great matchup last night as well. Again, if you like the pitching, Craig Calcaterra is with us, NBC Sports from Hardball Talk. And, of course, Craig, you look at the standings right now, you got some teams that are really playing good. Washington, the Cubs on the National League side, and then over the American League side, I think the White Sox have been a little bit of a surprise. Baltimore's still kind of hanging in, and then the World Series champs Royals out there. What has been so far, we're about a month in, the big surprise for you?
Certainly the White Sox at 10-5 right now are a big surprise. I don't think anyone thought that they would be particularly good. I know they made that big pickup of Todd Frazier, but
he hasn't even done that much.
Up and down. Yeah, I know, and he's a better defender than people give him credit for, and he's been helping that way. But his bat's going to come alive when it starts to get warm, and he's always been that kind of a player. But having someone solid like Jimmy Rollins around is helpful, even though he's not what he used to be. Brett Lowry's been really good in the early going. Adam Eaton has been healthy and effective. Everyone always knew that he could be something of a spark plug. Now he's showing that he really can be. And I think the rotation's a little underrated. Don't quote me on that today, because I think they're throwing John Danks out there, and he's probably going to get shelled. But the top of the rotation was Sale. Matt Latos has been a revelation this year. Quintana has been one of the more underrated pitchers in baseball the last couple of years. He's been, his good old self again. Very, very interesting team there on the south side.
He's Craig Calcaterra, and you can hear him on NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 live sports talk radio network, where you can listen to at NBCSportsRadio.com. Download the app for your phone, NBC Sports Radio mobile today. Craig, good baseball talk, man. We'll look to do it again soon.
Thank you very much.
You got it. There's Craig Calcaterra with us here on the Sports Bash, and he makes a great point regarding baseball and the pitching. How do they change that? How do they add more offense to baseball? You can text your thoughts to 609-403-0973. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash.